Total Screen proudly presents their official podcast, On Screen, with your hosts, Tyson Gifford and William Roerig. Hello, everybody, and welcome to On Screen, the official podcast of the Total Screen. My name is Tyson.
My name is Will.
And today, we are going to be playing a little bit of catch-up. We're going to be going through some things that we've been watching and playing. We also got some trailers to discuss in our On Beat section, and we've got a pretty long On the Horizon section this week. There's a lot of stuff coming out. But not only is there just a lot of stuff coming out in general, but we're actually going to be taking a week off next week, and so we're going to be giving you our On the Horizon covering the next 2 weeks instead of the next 1 week. Let's get started with our On Beat section. On Beat. We're going to be talking about some trailers that have come out just recently. I believe these all dropped because a lot of these, maybe not the Guardians of the Galaxy ones, but a lot of these are meant to go before the new Mario movie that just came out today. I believe that's why they all kind of dropped around the same time.
Oh, that makes sense.
But the first one we're going to talk about were like these little short spots, so I don't think that's one of them. And that is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. They put out like 3 or 4 little teaser trailers, little 30-second teasers. Yeah, I mean, I was already sold.
Yeah.
I was already sold on Guardians 3, you know, like I
you didn't have
to
to resell me.
The best thing to come out of it is the driving scene, I think.
Yes, that's great. I can't wait for this movie. This movie is going to be wonderful.
Yeah.
Probably going to be the best Marvel movie in ages.
I just read something about where James Gunn was talking about the music for this movie, and that like instead of sticking to like a 70s motif, he was debating, you know, going 80s or going 90s, and then he decided to just kind of like, it's all based on the believability of what could be on Peter Quill's Zune. And so he just decided it'd be like anything within the range of like before the Zune came out. After the Zune, before the Zune came out. So it's going to be stuff going 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s, like all the way through. It's going to have like a big range.
It's hilarious. Peter Quill has a Zune.
Yeah. It was funny from the very beginning. Especially when the guy gave it to him was like, you know, oh yeah, everybody on Earth is using me.
Yeah, everybody on Earth is using these, yeah.
Yeah, I'm always up for a good Zune joke.
Oh, Microsoft.
You tried.
Yeah, exactly.
You failed, but you tried.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, not too much to say. A lot of it's scenes that we've already seen. Like I said, the car scene is kind of the funniest new addition that we got in any of those trailers. And, you know, a few like little tiny clips we got besides that were new. But yeah, I didn't need it. I was already sold.
Same.
Next up, we got a trailer, speaking of Marvel, for Secret Invasion, the next Disney Plus Marvel series. Now, I was a little bit burned on the statement I'm about to make about this. Last time I did that, and that was when Falcon and the Winter Soldier came out, I said the same thing about it as I'm about to say about this.
Okay.
And it kind of burned me a little bit. And that is that I'm getting serious Winter Soldier vibes from the Secret Invasion trailer.
Okay.
And as that's still my favorite Marvel or MCU movie, that's like a really good thing. But then I had the same thing with Falcon and Winter Soldier. I had big Winter Soldier vibes, and it kind of didn't live up to that for me.
I gotta say, I did not have Winter Soldier vibes from Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Maybe it's just because Winter Soldier's in it.
Maybe. Yeah. When I was watching the previews for that, I thought it would be more of a buddy comedy than it turned out to be. So, like, completely different expectations, but it didn't fall into either of those, really.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. But Secret Invasion, again, I'm feeling big Winter Soldier vibes.
Yes, I'm on board with you. I'm feeling the Winter Soldier vibes here. I'm hoping it delivers. This is like the first project Marvel has done that focuses on Nick Fury as the central protagonist. in my opinion, it's been long overdue because he's been there since the beginning, and it's crazy to me that it took this long to like get a Nick Fury centric thing going.
That makes me worry a little too, because what was the last long overdue movie?
Yeah, Black Widow, yeah. Yikes.
Long overdue doesn't mean it'll turn out good.
No.
But yeah, I mean, it looks good. Everything I've seen from it looks really good. I mean, but it's a trailer. Trailers can be misleading. They show you the best bits, and then you think that that's what you're getting, and you might get something else. I don't know. I'm cautiously optimistic, I should say. It looks really good, but we've been burned a few times.
Yeah, definitely.
But this is definitely a much cooler trailer than the last one. The last one was probably just like a teaser, though, actually. But
yeah,
this one was a lot cooler.
This was more of a story trailer.
Yeah. It looks good. You see Emilia Clarke in there?
Yes.
There's going to be a full episode where she's just announcing herself in all of her titles.
Yeah, she plays
Breaker of Chains.
The trick is she plays Daenerys in this.
Yeah,
it's not a different character.
She got like reverse isekai from the Game of Thrones world.
Yeah, it's revealed that like Daenerys died, and instead of going to the afterlife, she just ended up in the Marvel universe.
Yeah, reverse isekai to the MCU.
yeah, exactly.
But that's Secret Invasion coming up in June, I believe. Next up, we had our first trailer for Blue Beetle on the DC side of things. Do you know much about this character? Because I know nothing about this character.
I know very little. I know he was the second Blue Beetle. He's the more modern Blue Beetle that they've primarily used as the character since he was introduced. So he was introduced during Infinite Crisis in 2006. I remember reading that miniseries. He took over from the original Blue Beetle, who was Ted Cord.
Which I believe they did reference in the trailer. I saw somebody talking about that they had referenced the original Blue Beetle in the trailer. But knowing nothing about the character, like I didn't pick up on any of that.
Yeah, because I think Ted Cord is supposed to be a character in this movie.
Yeah, but the things about this, the trailer for this is, first off, you got Miguel from Cobra Kai. That's a big plus for me.
Yes, and that's a big plus. I love the actor. He's such a charming kid. Yeah, I love him in Cobra Kai.
It's kind of like the same vibes I got from the Shang-Chi trailer with Simu Liu,
Yeah.
I have the kind of same feelings towards Miguel from Cobra Kai as I do for Simu Liu, It's the same kind of like charisma, that like, I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah, he'll be fun to watch, The other things about the trailer that caught my eye is it's very Sentai, if you know what that is, which is kind of like Power Rangers style, kind of like the costumes and stuff kind of have like a very like Sentai look to them.
Yeah. Which is funny because like the costume, like that is the exact design for the comics that is like virtually unchanged.
Yeah.
So like,
I mean, Sentai's been going on since, we think Power Rangers 90s and stuff, but it's been going on for a lot longer than that.
Well, like I said, this
Ultraman and stuff is all Sentai.
This version of the character was introduced in 2006, well past when Power Rangers became popular and ingrained into our pop culture. So I haven't seen anything that said the design was expressly based on Sentai, but it's not out of the realm of possibility either.
What it makes me think of more than like Power Rangers is like other Sentai stuff. There's that old anime. Did you ever watch?
Kamen Rider?
No. I was gonna say, Guyver. If you've ever watched Guyver
no.
But it kind of gave me some Guyver vibes, because Guyver was also like a weapon. It was like in a briefcase, and the guy opened it up and it attached itself to his body, and there's live action movies and anime and all sorts of stuff for Guyver, but that's kind of what it really reminded me of. Like, not necessarily tonally, because this has like a lighter tone. Guyver's pretty dark, but I got like just kind of like the aesthetics kind of triggered that for me. And then the other thing was that, man, that transformation scene was like brutal in like the best way. Like, I love that it was so brutal that, like, when the suit was attaching itself to him, it was like a straight horror film moment.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the best part of the whole trailer.
That was freaky. Yes, that was. It's the best. There was a lot to the trailer.
Yeah. There were two really cool bits, I think, in the trailer. There was that, and then him, like, patting the water when he fell from the sky, and then it stopped, like, right above the water, like, in the ocean, and he, like, was patting it with his hand, like, is this real, kind of? Those are, like, the two kind of moments in the trailer that really stood out for me, I think. But I think the last thing that we should address, obviously, is this is old guard DCEU.
This was put into production before the new guard was put in place.
So it makes you kind of wonder, like, how necessary this movie is. Is this going to continue on, or is this just going to be forgotten about after it's done?
I mean, this could. I don't think it has the baggage that something like The Flash does with the connections, because in the trailer they reference Batman, but like it's not like Ben Affleck's going to show up or anything, so it could be any Batman at this point. They could easily retcon this into the new DCU if they wanted to.
Yeah.
I doubt there's going to be any hard references in this to the previous films.
I think James Gunn already hinted that if it's successful that he could incorporate it, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just weird now that like all the turnover with the DCEU now, when any of the stuff that's coming out, because we still have The Flash coming out, you know? I think, is The Flash the last one of the old guard that's still coming out?
No, Aquaman 2 would be last.
Oh,
one.
yeah. We had Black Adam, Shazam, Aquaman 2, and then we have this, Blue Beetle. Yeah. And you just don't know how to take it, because it's like, well, is there any point to this? Is it just a standalone? Is it going to try to tie in, but it doesn't matter? It's kind of like a little dark cloud. So I kind of feel bad for everybody involved in this. And, you know, if this movie ends up being good, I hope it is successful and can attach itself to the new DCEU.
Yeah.
If it's good. We haven't seen it, so we don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm happy Black Adam's not continuing on. I mean, that was...
No, that's mostly because of The Rock's ego.
Yeah.
Rock was...
Seems like he kind of ruined Shazam, too, from what I've been hearing as well.
It's funny because The Rock's ego, because, like, The Rock wanted to... Like, it's interesting the politics behind it, because he went in there and he wanted to kind of recenter the DC universe around himself and around his character. And he made a massive gambit to do that, and the gambit failed, and they went with James Gunn and Peter Safran's vision instead.
Yeah.
You know, so...
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you've seen Black Adam. It was atrocious. It was bad.
I have not seen it.
It's such a shit movie. It might be the worst DCU movie I've seen. To be fair though, I have not seen Suicide Squad, like the first one.
Did you hear like some of the weirdness? Like the post-credits scene in Shazam 2 had the characters from Suicide Squad and Peacemaker.
Yeah.
The team there.
And it was originally supposed to be somebody else.
It was originally supposed to be a couple of members from the Justice Society from Black Adam. They're supposed to be recruiting Shazam into the Justice Society, and The Rock vetoed their appearance. The Rock stepped in and said he didn't want those characters appearing in Shazam.
He's like, I don't want any of the Black Adam stuff to have anything to do with Shazam, even though his entire character is tied to Shazam in the comics.
Yeah,
you know?
Even though his entire character was created to be an antagonist for Shazam.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so weird. I don't get it.
Yeah, I've kind of lost a lot of respect for The Rock over this stuff, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't like a big fan anyways, but I mean, I lost what respect I had, I think. And then lastly, we got a new trailer for Spider-Man Across the Spiderverse. There'd been one trailer before, but it didn't show too much. That last trailer kind of just had like a little touching moment between him and his mom, and then it had all this other stuff, just kind of like real quick flashes kind of stuff you saw that you didn't really have any context for. And then this trailer, we're getting kind of a much bigger idea of like what the story's about and how things are designed to progress in this movie. And it looks great.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Into the Spider-Verse looks fantastic.
It's funny how, like, Haley Atwell is, like, the voiceover queen of experimental CG animation now. Between the Spider-Man, across, Spider-Verse movies and Arcane.
Oh, yeah, right.
Like, somebody's gonna be doing experimental 3D, or CG animation, and it's like, well, who are we gonna cast Haley Atwell as? Or, not Haley Atwell. Oh my god, I'm getting that completely wrong. Who was, you know what I'm talking about, right? In Arcane and in Hawkeye.
Oh, Haley Steinfeld.
Haley Steinfeld. I think I'm saying that right. Peggy Carter, I think.
Yeah, I was a little confused. I was like, oh, okay. I didn't know Haley Atwell was the voice.
No. Haley Steinfeld. She was the voice in Arcane. She's the voice of Gwen in the Spider-Verse movies. So she's like the official voice actress queen of experimental animation. If you're doing experimental CG animation, you need Haley Steinfeld now. It's like a requirement by law.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
So what did you think about the Across the Spider-Verse trailer? You've seen the original, right?
Not yet. I gotta watch that.
Oh, you gotta watch it. It's so good. I think you'll love it.
Yeah, I know.
But yeah, I think it looks really good. But that's it for our On Beat segment. Now we're going to move on to our extra long On the Horizon segment.
On the
horizon. On the horizon.
So first up on Thursday, April 13th, Florida Man, a new miniseries, is coming to Netflix. It's about a man from Florida, in Florida, where Florida-like things happen to this man in Florida. It's like Meme the miniseries. Then, also on Thursday, April 13th, Titans returns, I believe for its final season on HBO Max. I'm not sure. I've kind of tuned out from all that stuff, but that's coming back. Then on Friday, April 14th, The Last Thing He Told Me, another miniseries, is coming to Apple TV+. This is about a woman who's investigating the disappearance of her husband. Stars Laura Dave and Nikolaj Coster-Waldau from Game of Thrones. That was Jaime Lannister. This was like kind of famous because it originally was supposed to star Julia Roberts was originally supposed to be the lead in this and had to drop out because of scheduling conflicts. So it kind of had recognition because of that, but not anymore, I guess.
Yeah, I guess not.
Also on Friday, April 14th, The Marvelous Miss Maisel returns to Amazon Prime for its final season. I'm psyched for that. I enjoy that show quite a bit. And then in theaters on Friday, April 14th, Renfield is hitting. I'm super psyched for that. I'm a big fan of Nicholas Hoult, and I'm a big fan of Nicolas Cage.
The Nicholases.
I want to see the Nicholases together. I think the trailers for this look exceptional. I'm excited.
It looks like a fun movie.
Yeah, definitely.
It does.
Looks like it's going to have some good times. And then also on Friday, April 14th in theaters, Suzume comes out. This is the next anime movie from Makoto Shinkai, who famously did Your Name and Weathering with You. These are kind of like these really big, super popular anime movies in Japan. And this is his next one. And it's out in theaters out here. So it's going to be, a big Western release for it. But that's his next movie. So that's exciting. Then on Sunday, April 16th, Barry is returning on HBO for its, I believe, 4th season. So that's going to be nice. And then also on Sunday, April 16th, but on Showtime, Waco The Aftermath, which is a miniseries. It's a sequel to the Waco miniseries, but this one's going to be covering attacks ranging from like Timothy McVeigh to the January 6th stuff. And it's about like domestic terrorism kind of events and stuff, but it's like with a lot of the same cast from the original Waco miniseries, including Michael Shannon in the lead, John Leguizamo, Shea Wiggum, and then we have like Gary Cole and Giovanni Ribisi are joining the cast for this one. That's on Sunday, August 16th on Showtime. On Tuesday, April 18th, Minecraft Legends is hitting PC, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X, and Switch, as well as your toaster and your wristwatch. Not that smartwatch, just your analog wristwatch. It's coming to that too. Then on Wednesday, April 19th, Horizon Forbidden West Burning Shores DLC is coming to PS5. They happen to schedule Horizon games always like within at least a few weeks of a huge open world game that's going to completely eat its lunch. That's kind of become a joke now. The first Horizon launched like opposite Breath of the Wild. The second Horizon launched opposite Elden Ring. And now this Horizon DLC is launching like weeks before Tears of the Kingdom comes out. So
yeah, it's
gotta pick better dates.
Yeah, this franchise can't catch a break, can it?
Watch if they would have delayed it, it would have lined up like right next to like Starfield or something.
Oh yeah, yeah, exactly.
So next up, we mentioned Power Rangers when we were talking about Sentai in our discussion of the Blue Beetle trailer. Well, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Once and Always is coming to Netflix on Wednesday, April 19th. This is a 30th anniversary episode with much of the original cast. Much, but not all of the original cast. Of course, 2 of them have passed away since, that being Tommy and Trini, I think was the character's name. The Yellow Ranger.
Yeah, the actress.
She died quite a while ago.
Yes.
In a pretty bad car accident. And then
tragically, and we lost,
Tommy's actor recently passed away.
Yeah, within like the last year.
Yeah, and I think Kimmy, the actress, decided she wasn't going to do this one, but otherwise they have a lot of the returning cast for this one. So Power Ranger fans, you got something to watch, a little celebration of 30 years of Power Rangers. Then we have The Diplomat, which is a British espionage series starring Kerry Russell and Rufus Sewell, and that is coming on Thursday, April 20th to Netflix. Also on Thursday, April 20th, but on Paramount Plus, Mike Judge's Beavis and Butthead returns. That was one of the best revivals I've ever seen. I think it's better than the original series, like the revival.
Oh, really?
That they put up on Paramount
Plus. It is good. It is really funny.
It's smarter. It's like a lot smarter than the original series. It's really clever. And I don't mean the characters are smart. Obviously the characters are the biggest idiots in the world, but the way it's written is pretty smart. And then also on April 20th, on Thursday, on Peacock, Miss Davis comes out. This is from Damon Lindelof and Tara Hernandez. Tara Hernandez is going to be the showrunner, but Damon Lindelof is heavily involved in the creative process as well, and is an executive producer on it. Stars Betty Gilpin from American Gods and Glow is in it. And it's kind of like a story about a nun versus like an AI. And it's just really weird looking. There was like a teaser trailer that was put out. It's very strange looking. And you have that combined with just Damon Lindelof, and that has my attention. I've loved pretty much everything he's been heavily involved with. I've enjoyed. Besides the movies, I haven't really watched those, like Prometheus or anything.
Okay.
But like any shows he's done, I've been very interested in. So then also on Thursday, April 20th, Quasi is coming to Hulu. This is a movie from Broken Lizard. That's the comedy troupe behind Super Troopers and Tacoma FD more recently. And it's a spoof of Quasimodo, but it's they made this streaming only movie for Hulu coming on April 20th. So yeah.
Okay.
Super Troopers was good. I really actually like Tacoma FD as well, so it's gonna be exciting to see some more stuff from them. Then Dead Ringers. You've probably heard of the Cronenberg classic, the David Cronenberg classic, Dead Ringers. Well, it's getting this kind of remake series. It's coming on Amazon Prime on Friday, April 21st, and it's like a gender swapped. So Dead Ringers was about these twins that were kind of like eerily close to each other, and they were like experimenting in medical procedures and stuff. And so this one is like kind of doing that, except the twins this time are females, both being played by Rachel Weisz, and they're both gynecologists, and they're like unusually close to each other. And I imagine it's going to go into some weird body horror type stuff because it is an adaptation of Cronenberg after all. Then we have Ghosted. This is a movie coming on Friday, April 21st to Apple TV+. It stars Chris Evans and Ana de Armas, and it's like an action-adventure movie where Chris Evans plays a character who goes on a date with a girl, really likes her. She kind of ghosts him, but he doesn't want to give up on it, so he finds out she's like in Europe, and he goes to like surprise her, and it turns out she's like a spy. And so they end up in like a whole spy situation. But yeah, Chris Evans and Ana de Armas are apparently like working together in a lot of movies now. They were in Knives Out together, and now they've been doing like a bunch of movies together, I guess. She was in that the Netflix movie he did as well, the Gray Man. Then also on Friday, April 21st, also on Apple TV+, Slip is a romantic comedy fantasy about a woman who is slipping through the multiverse. And so it's like multiverse, but not comic book stakes. It's just like a romantic comedy drama series about somebody slipping through the multiverse in different facets of her own life and different universes. Advance Wars 1 and 2 Reboot Camp is finally coming out on Friday, April 21st on the Nintendo Switch, as is Dead Island 2 for PC, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X. Oddly enough, both of those are coming out on the same day. Both of those games are games that were like heavily delayed. So it's kind of funny that they're launching on the same day. Then in theaters, Guy Ritchie's The Covenant. This is the new movie with Jake Gyllenhaal, where he plays like a former soldier that barely made it out of the Middle East, some conflict in the Middle East, barely made it out of it, and then his interpreter was like lost when that happened, and he's like going back to try to like find him and save him or something. That's coming on Friday, April 21st in theaters. Also, then the same day, I read it wrong here in the show notes, but Evil Dead Rise is coming on Friday, April 21st to theaters. So, yeah, that's good. It looks good. The trailer for Evil Dead Rise, the Red Band trailer, might be the best horror trailer I've ever seen. It's so well cut, so well edited. It's just such a good trailer. So, yeah, and I like the original Evil Dead, and I love the original Evil Dead, and I like the remake, too, the original remake that came out, it's been like 10 years now since that came out? It's been a while. It's been a minute.
Yeah, it's been a while. I don't know exactly how long it's been.
But yeah, that remake was good as well, and so this is like the next movie in the Evil Dead franchise. But that's it for our On the Horizon segment, our extra long because it's covering 2 weeks there and a lot of stuff happens to be coming out. Now we're going to move on to On Tap.
What we've been watching. What we've been playing. What's on tap.
This week on Tap, we're going to be talking about a few things we've been watching and playing that we wanted to kind of bring up. So I'm going to start things off and I'll let you end the segment with yours. But I just finally started watching Reginald the Vampire, which I've been wanting to watch since it came out on the Sci-Fi Channel last year.
Remember, you were very positive on the previews for this.
Yeah.
Specifically looking forward to this. It has Ned from the Spider-Man films in the lead role.
It's kind of like a quirky, weird comedy vampire story with a kind of an untypical vampire lead for the series. I think a big part of my excitement for the series is that there's a book series I really like called Fred the Vampire Accountant, and it kind of struck similar vibes to me when I saw like the trailer for this show. I was like, okay, this might be good. This might give me my Fred the Vampire Accountant kick that I need. And I really wanted to watch it. It came out October of last year and was only available if you had cable. You couldn't buy it. You couldn't stream it on any streamer, anything, until just like last night it popped up on Hulu. I'm like, what the fuck? Okay, it's finally available somewhere. So I finally checked it out. I was so psyched. I'm like, oh yes, this is great. I finally have something to watch when I'm in like a weird mood late at night and I just want to watch something. I'm like, I got my new show for that. Start watching the first episode. It's pretty shit.
Oh, jeez. Yeah.
And not the shit. It's just shit. It's very poorly made. It has really bad special effects. The story and the writing are pretty atrocious. Oddly, I'm still a little addicted to it, so I'm probably going to watch a few more episodes. Like, I'm still there's a part of me that still just wants it to somehow work out, and so that's making it entertaining enough for me to, like, watch more. But it's not something I could recommend, because it's just very poorly made.
How many episodes have you watched so far?
2.
Oh, okay.
Just 2.
How many episodes are there in the season?
I don't know, probably like 10 or 13, something like that.
Okay, so second episode in, and you, like, have this strong and negative reaction. That's not good.
No, I'll probably end up dropping it within a few episodes, or I'll watch it, but it'll be like one of those things that you watch while you're doing something else. You know, like you're not really paying attention to it. Mm-hmm. Best thing about the show is there's a fictitious slushy shop, and I'm like, I wish there were slushy shops. I want a slushy shop, especially since I live in Los Angeles County during summer. I definitely want there to be slushy shops.
I don't think I've ever seen a dedicated slushy shop in my life. I mean, there's been slushies at the convenience store.
Yeah, obviously. The closest would be like maybe Sonic.
Yeah.
But Sonic's a food place, but they just happen to, most focus seems to be on the drinks.
Yeah, Sonic's a food place. Yeah, Sonic for me was always like great drinks, mediocre food.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You go there to get a drink, and then you're like, oh, I'm kind of hungry too, and then you get something and you kind of regret buying the food, but you enjoy the drink.
Yeah, exactly.
So, that's Reginald the Vampire. Can't recommend it. Very poorly made, like I said. But I'm still strangely enthralled enough to watch it because, I don't know, I'm broken, I guess. And then just today, I went out to the theaters because as we're recording this, it is Wednesday, April 5th, 2023. And that means that there's a certain movie that's out. And I had to watch it. Of course, I'm talking about our favorite plumber in a fantasy world, Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves. It has nothing to do with plumbers. I had to pull some kind of a misdirect. I didn't know how to do it.
You had me there.
I did not watch Mario, not because I don't want to watch it, but because
you hate Mario?
It was too packed. The theater was packed. Yeah. A lot of kids. Dungeons and Dragons been out for a week already. I knew it wouldn't be too packed, but like, man, I could tell. I think Mario's going to do really well. I thought that before, but man, I saw a lot of people in a movie theater that's usually pretty deserted. So that kind of tells me that movie's doing well. But I decided to watch Dungeons and Dragons, Honor Among Thieves, and then I'll watch Mario at some later time when there's less people at the theater. But yeah, Dungeons and Dragons is good. It's a fun action fantasy romp. Nothing too inspiring. It's not like a movie that you're going to look back on and go like, oh, remember that movie? That's great. Or like, oh, I need to own the DVD or the Blu-ray of this so I can watch it a bunch of times. Or it's not that kind of movie. It's the kind of movie of its time. You just kind of watch it. You really enjoy it. You have a good time. It's fun. And then you just really don't think about it much anymore.
Yeah, I mean, from what I heard it's fun. It's certainly a lot better than the last time they tried the Dungeons and Dragons movie.
I only watched the first one they did. They did a few other like direct to DVD or something.
Oh, I didn't watch any of the direct. I watched the one they did with Jeremy Irons.
Was it Marlon Wayans? Yeah.
Yes.
Oh god, that was so bad. That was almost as bad as the other fantasy movie that Jeremy Irons did, the Aragon. That was even worse. I did not
watch that one.
That was even worse.
Yeah.
Good book series. Horrible movie. But yeah, Dungeons and Dragons, it's a good time. There's a great gag that's in like, I think the most recent trailer like showed the whole gag, but it's a really good gag that's kind of like in the middle of the movie. There's some other like running gags that are pretty funny. There's some little quick things, like there's a showdown between these two wizards, and like right as it's like setting up when it's gonna happen, like some tumbleweed blows between them. And it happens like they don't like focus on it. It's not like they focused on it and played like a Western music cue. It's kind of like a blink and you miss it kind of like little quick gag. It's just a fun fantasy movie, and if you like Dungeons and Dragons, then you'll like it. If you're just vaguely aware of Dungeons and Dragons, you're gonna like pick up on all these like terms, like they're in Neverwinter, so you're gonna be thinking, oh, Neverwinter, I know that term, or like, they talk about Baldur's Gate at one point. It's like, yeah, so if you play Dungeons and Dragons video games, or if you've even heard of them, you're gonna like hear a lot of terminology, if nothing else.
You gotta hear a lot of familiar terminology. I wonder if they like reference like familiar Dungeons and Dragons characters, like the Dark Elf or whatever.
I don't know enough about Dungeons and Dragons for that. I've played Dungeons and Dragons, but I've never like dived into the lore or anything.
The lore, you never read like the novels or stuff?
No.
Spun out of it. The Forgotten Realms novels or stuff.
Yeah, I just remember I created an elf character and I was rolling, and the way the DM had it set up was that you were picking your stat and then rolling for it instead of rolling and then picking where you wanted to put your stat points in. And I ended up with like an elven warrior that had like an intelligence of like 2.
The crazy thing,
the worst is like you never see like stupid elves, but my elf was like an idiot, and so I couldn't even speak. My character wasn't allowed to speak.
The crazy thing is that if you watch it like past the end credits and past the end credit scene, there's another scene that directly references your mute elf warrior character.
To be fair, he's not mute. He's just like, I played him kind of like Hodor. This was before I ever saw Game of Thrones, but basically his name was Ugg, and all he could say was Ugg.
Ugg.
So he just swing a sword at something and scream Ugg, and so everybody called him Ugg because, the DM wouldn't let me forced me to just gesture and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
Because the intelligence was so low on the character that, like, that's...
Oh, jeez.
But yeah, that's about my experience with Dungeons and Dragons, so... I did enjoy the movie though, so it was a little fun fantasy movie. There's a mimic in it, which they showed in the trailer too, but that's a cool thing that's, I think started with Dungeons and Dragons, but has popped up in a bunch of like RPGs and stuff since. And then the last thing we're talking about on tap is You're up, Will. What have you been playing?
Yes, I've been playing the wonderful, heartwarming, family-friendly Resident Evil 4 remake.
Yes. I love it when Leon gets big hugs from chainsaws.
Yes. Lots of hugs in this game.
Hugs from chainsaws.
Lots of people just running up to you wanting a hug.
Hug my chainsaw.
Yeah, exactly. It's fantastic. It's everything you could want out of a remake of Resident Evil 4. The graphics look amazing.
I heard there's like a crazy attention to detail going on with that. There's like every bit of clothing and stuff. There's like little tiny details all over them and stuff.
Oh yeah, it is insane. It looks amazing. Gameplay wise, it feels like Resident Evil 4. All like the major stuff that I can remember. I'm only up to chapter 5, so I just beat the giant. Just beat the giant and rescued Ashley, so that's, for reference, that's where I'm at this point. But so far, like, everything you remember is intact and there, and it's made better. it's funny because this is one of the things where, like, updating the graphics, upgrading it, improves the experience, because a lot of the stuff in Resident Evil 4 is meant to be a spectacle. It's meant to be a huge set piece that plays out.
It's one of the few games that did, like, QTEs right, you know?
Yes. Yeah.
So it was, like, had these levels that were very, like, set piecey.
Like, for example, the fight against a giant El Gigante.
Mm-hmm.
That's supposed to be a big spectacle, like a big showpiece, and it was originally when you played it. But on this, that's amplified. That's like notched up because there's more detail to it.
They Spinal Tapped it. They took it to 11.
They took it to 11, and it's so great. I had a big smile on my face the whole time playing through this.
It's funny, I've been hearing it being brought up a lot in the same breath of Metroid Prime Remaster, in the sense that a lot of people are looking at, we're getting to like maybe the third of the way through the year, and people are looking at like, oh, what are the Game of the Year contenders so far? And people have been kind of joking about how their favorite games this year have all been like remakes.
Yeah.
And it's the ones they keep mentioning are the Dead Space remake, Metroid Prime Remastered, and Resident Evil 4 as being these like incredible remakes or remasters, you know? Remake in the case of Resident Evil 4 for sure.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely.
So is this like the best of the Resident Evil remakes? Because did they do a remake of 1? Like a modern remake of 1? I know they did 2 and 3.
No, they just did. The only remake they did of 1 is the one from GameCube, which they remastered in HD for the PS3 and Xbox 360, and that's the one they've been rolling with ever since.
But they did like full remakes of 2 and 3, right?
Yes, they did. So,
and you've played all those because you're like a Resident Evil nut.
Yeah, I actually haven't played 3.
Okay.
I played through 2.
So is this like a big, from what I've been hearing, it sounds like this is a big step up from like 2 remake.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if
people think 4 is a better game in general, I think, but
I don't know if I would say that because like Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 4 are so fundamentally different from each other to begin with. Like, I thought the 2 remake was a great step up for Resident Evil 2. Great step up. But it's classic style Resident Evil. Even within the remake, like the remake does change up the controls. It gives you like more Resident Evil 4. The remake does like do Resident Evil 4 style controls and stuff for Resident Evil 2. But even then, like, it's still Resident Evil 2 at score, which it obviously is not complete because that's the point.
Mm-hmm.
And this is Resident Evil 4. And Resident Evil 4 was a massive leap forward for the franchise.
Yeah. I remember one of the most shocking things about Resident Evil 4 was that it was when they first showed it, like almost everything they showed was all in daytime. And Resident Evil had been always like a nighttime game, like everything was dark and scary and stuff. And it was like, Resident Evil 4 went daytime and managed to be even scarier.
Yes.
You know? And people like love that about it. And, so yeah, like you have a game that's basically considered the best in the franchise, I think, by most people. And that's what got remade. And it sounds like they nailed the remake of it.
Yes. So far they did. Unless like something drastic happens in the rest of the game, which I don't think so. You know, I have no reason to believe.
Fingers crossed.
They nailed it. I think if you're a fan of Resident Evil 4, I implore you to play this.
Is this your Game of the Year so far?
So far, yes.
Dang.
Yes, I would say this is my Game of the Year, but I'm also like the wrong person to ask because I don't play a lot of games. Well,
and
a lot of games when they're new. Like, this is the first new game I played this year.
There's also a certain game coming out in about a month.
Yes. And that's probably going to end up actually being my Game of the Year, so.
Yeah.
Unless there's something weird with it. Like.
Yeah. It's just like, it's actually just Link's crossbow training and everything we saw was a lie.
Yeah, exactly. It starts out like that. This says, haha, fool you.
Now shoot at targets like a good little bitch.
Yeah.
But that's it for our On Tap segment, and that's it for our podcast. So as I mentioned at the top of the show, we are not going to be having a podcast next week. In 2 weeks, though, we are going to be returning with The Mandalorian Season 3. So we're going to be talking about that. It's going to be ending like right before we record the podcast, I believe, that day. So yeah, tune in for that. Thank you, everybody, for listening. You can reach me on Twitter. I'm at Tyson Gifford. You can reach Will. He is at Voxel Hero. You can check out our Facebook page and our website, thetotalscreen.com. If you go to thetotalscreen.com and click on any of our container stories for our podcast episodes, you will find all the relevant links you need to our official Twitter, our personal Twitter, Facebook, SoundCloud, all that stuff. It's all there. You can also subscribe to this podcast through your podcast kind of choice, like Apple Podcasts or Pocket Casts, and the entire backlog of our podcast is available on our YouTube channel. So thank you, everybody, for listening. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you for listening to the OnScreen podcast, the official podcast of The Little Screen. Visit our website at thetittlescreen.com. This podcast can be found on any major podcast client, including Pocket Cast and Apple Podcast. The entire backlog of this podcast and other content can be found on our YouTube channel.